you so much for being here with us tonight, and very excited to have our SOTA Cloud team with us. I'm going to go over a couple little housekeeping items, and I'm really excited about tonight's topic. So let me review a few key points. We will be recording this webinar and sending it out to you. Great webinar to share with your team afterwards if your team couldn't make it. Also, we do have some QR codes that you will be seeing after the webinar and also during. So if you're interested in learning a little bit more about Pearl or learning about SOTA Cloud, feel free to click on those QR codes. Of course, we would love you to put Q&A questions in the chat. We will also have about 10 minutes at the end to answer all of your questions. And lastly, we would like to make sure you know that we will have that CE code for you and the password at the very end. So tonight, joining me from the SOTA Cloud team is Scott Cote, the Director of Sales. And I'm going to let Scott introduce us, and then we will get started.
Great. Thank you, Sheila. My name is Scott Cote. As Sheila indicated, I'm Director of Sales here at SOTA Cloud, and I'm joined by Trenice Negron, who's one of our account managers, as well as Frank Coleman, who's heads up marketing for us. So thank you for the opportunity to be here, and thank you for everyone that's in the audience listening.
Excellent. Thank you, Scott. And I am also joined by the Director of our Partner Growth, Kimberly at Pearl. So we will dive right in here. Let me get my screen ready, and then we will get started here. My name is Sheela Roth. I am the Head of Education at Pearl. I've spent 34 years in the dental field as a hygienist, an office manager, and a lot of time as a practice growth consultant, unlocking barriers to practice growth that we don't typically think about. So I have a unique experience on maximizing dental practices. For the last 3 years at Pearl, I've worked with private practice teams and DSOs on how to seamlessly integrate AI into their workflow in order to increase productivity and profitability. And later then moved over to focusing with the product team and the computer vision team as the previous Director of Clinical Operations at Pearl. Tonight, I'm looking forward to showing you how using AI in your dental practice can build patient trust, increase your case acceptance, and boost retention and referrals to help your practice grow. Before we get started, I'd like you to think about in your minds, whether you're a doctor or even a hygienist and assistants as well, the last 10 patients that you were sharing images on and presenting some sort of case that they needed to have, some sort of dentistry that they needed to actually have done. And I want you to think about, we're going to talk about in a few minutes, how many of those patients that we feel that research shows understood what we were explaining to them. It's a very interesting answer, and I'm going to walk you through a few key features that'll help you unlock that answer. So let's go ahead and get started. Tonight, we're going to cover what AI is, AI in dentistry, how we use AI for diagnosing, the chairside impact of AI, the powered clinical performance that AI provides, as well as the future capabilities. Now, there's a lot of AI in the dental space. We have automated periodontal charting, we have chatbots now, we have claim submissions help. Tonight, we're going to spend a majority of our time focusing on the radiologic AI and the impact that can have chairside with presenting to your patients and the ultimate outcome of increasing your practice growth. So what is AI, right? We all hear about it. We hear about it in the news. I don't think you can actually even read Google without hearing something about AI every day. So artificial intelligence refers to the basic computer systems or machines that are designed to mimic human intelligence. So these systems can learn from experience, they can analyze data, solve problems, and even make decisions. So what most people think of AI is the general AI or the strong AI, an AI that can think on its own, learn on its own, take our jobs. and perform human-like duties like doing math problems or making coffee. Rest assured, that type of AI doesn't exist yet. I'm not sure it ever will. So with radiologic AI, we are referring to narrow or weak AI. This is an AI designed to perform simple tasks, a limited, very narrow-minded, repetitive task, like teaching a machine how to play chess. If I wanted to teach it how to recognize an apple, it would take, 10,000 images of a red apple and 10,000 of a green apple and a half-eaten apple. So there's a lot of data, a lot of training to complete one specific task. Kind of like a baby when you teach it what a dog is, right? Here's a dog, they see a dog, ultimately they start calling it a dog. Or maybe even dental AI, where we show it a lot of cavities. Thousands and thousands of images in order to teach it to identify pathologies. We also have natural language processing, ChatGPT, all the phone calls, again, ultimately treatment planning, claim submissions. Very exciting for all of this. I'm very thankful myself for ChatGPT. So AI entered our world and it really transformed it extremely quietly, right? We didn't really get announced, hey, by the way, AI is going to work on facial recognition or it's going to start driving your cars. It just appeared. So today we can see computer vision being used in self-driving cars. My son went to the Intuit Dome. He was able to purchase his hot dog with his face. That was extremely incredible for me to hear about. And, moving throughout the countries, right? Global recognition. This is all computer vision. We talked about natural language processing and again, predictive analytics through that bank alert. So AI has been here quite a while. And why all of a sudden is it really kind of taking over in diagnostics, both in medicine and in dental? When we look at the history of modern AI, we know it's been around since about the 1950s. Personal computers, the dot-com era. But in order to make it impactful or applicable to diagnostics, we were lacking the data processing power and a way to create cost-effective and scalable models. So really, over the last 10 years, with the influx of data-driven algorithms, we were able to take those models, make them scalable, they became more performant, and now we know why AI is in dentistry. We've seen AI in medicine, so why is AI so well suited for dentistry? When we look at the history of modern dentistry, it's a category that has pushed forward by a series of technological innovations. It really elevates the standard of care in a fundamental way, pushing the industry forward. These advances also tend to rewrite the business reality in the environment as well. We see, aligners, intraoral scanners, implants. Now it's very early, but we're rapidly developing the new technology in dentistry. This is AI. Very exciting that there's so much technology in dentistry. Sometimes it can feel a little overwhelming. How do we keep up with, aligners, guided preps, and chairside milling? The list goes on. The nice thing about a radiologic AI is that it's different. It's a plug and play, right? We see immediate results, immediate benefits for yourself as a clinician, and most importantly, for your patients. Very seamless integration into your workflow because we're already taking radiographs. We're already sharing them with our patients, and there's no additional learning curve to be taught there. So very important. Pearl has the largest array of radiological AI capabilities in the market, which gives more AI power to create better patient outcomes. Whether that's identifying a periapical radiolucency or a notable margin, perhaps the hygienists are looking for ways to explain bone level increases from CEJ to bone crest. We have caries, of course, in 2 different colors, and you also see as you hover over that breakdown. As well as my favorite, the anatomical segmentation tool on the far right that we use chairside for case presentation. So let's dive into why dentistry is very uniquely positioned to adopt AI. There's a number of there's a number of considerations that if you actually analyze and sort through them, you can see that dentistry is very well suited. First, there is a lot of radiographs in in dentistry, 1.4 billion radiographs taken in the US per year. That's a lot of images. And about 86% of patients have a dental visit that includes some sort of imaging capture. So this is why we're seeing dental AI really leapfrogging the rest of medicine. It's just happening more consistently, more often, and it's really a great place for us to be able to adopt. So if you start to look at the numbers into the studies about diagnostics, trust, and patient retention, the results are quite staggering. I'm sure you've all had patients come to your practice for a second opinion, right? And although we know that the diagnosis can vary, as we have different providers trained in different areas and different schools of thought, sadly, this is still the leading cause of lack of trust in dentistry, that inconsistency amongst their diagnoses. Those of you that remember the 1997 study in Reader's Digest, where we had the journalist go to 50 different states, had 50 different diagnoses, and asked the president of the ADA, like, what is a patient supposed to do when they get this vast array of recommendations, right? One dentist said, I need $500 with the dentistry almost, and the other one said almost $30,000. And the answer was, well, you need to get multiple opinions. But he thought 50 was enough. So we can see that we still have this problem today. Now, unfortunately, the statistics have not improved. That inconsistency in diagnosis sometimes leads to a lack of trust, right? So Pearl formed a nonprofit group called the Dental AI Council to subdue the intersection of dentistry and AI. And in this study here on the left, you will see that it's very similar to the Reader's Digest study, where we took one FMX and 136 doctors. We found less than a 50% diagnostic concurrence across the board. Also, just recently, there was a study published at UCLA. So the students were to take a test, they were looking for carious lesions, and the students' fourth year found an overall accuracy to be about 50% for them detecting cavities, compared to Pearl, which was a 94%. So because of this study, they're now including Pearl into their curriculum as a teaching, learning, and testing tool. But what I'd like you to pay attention to tonight is really the most interesting part for me. The study in the middle is something that we did at Pearl, where we had 3 doctors look at almost 9,000 images. They only agreed with each other 4% of the time. And when they looked at the same images 3 months later, they only agreed with themselves 70% of the time. Why is that? Well, humans are inconsistent, right? AI can be inconsistent. So let's take a look at the FDA studies to see what the data states about combining AI for dentists and for diagnostics. So this is Pearl's second opinion. It's our real-time patient-facing pathological AI detection device. We're surfacing a lot of pathologies from caries I showed you earlier, periapical radiolucencies, calculus, notable margins, bone level measurements, my favorite, the tooth parts chairside case presentation tool. This study reveals how we should be thinking about when we're adopting AI into our practice. The dentists are good at diagnosing. They're not perfect. That AI is good at diagnosing, and it's not perfect. But together, we can be better than our own human self, right? So humans plus the AI is better than a human alone or the AI alone. And our study showed 30% more disease detected per radiograph encountered. In reality, right, the AI can see 500 to 700 shades of gray, where we can only see about 50 to 70 as a human eye. Second opinion is meant to be used in conjunction with the dentist. It's not meant to replace the dentist. It's not the authority. It's intended to surface areas of interest and point them out to the dentist. Imagine going through all those exams and being able to have that second set of eyes reminding you there's an area of concern here. But ultimately, the doctor makes the first and final decision, right? So that's the most important part here. We all know about diagnosis fatigue, bad days at the dental office. It's maybe something just didn't make it into the treatment plan. And AI is going to remind us of all of these things to help us always increase that standard of care and make our day more efficient. The more consistent our diagnosis, the more dentistry is found earlier, the more teeth we save and tooth structure, less cost to the patient, more treatment is accepted, right? It's a win-win for the patient and for the practice. So I think we all agree that the radiologic evaluation is really the cornerstone of clinical care in dentistry. It all begins with that initial accurate analysis of the radiograph. So let's really talk about what happens once we've moved AI into our dental practice. What we've already seen at Pearl is that teams that are integrating Pearl's second opinion are able to see a 30% increase in case diagnostics in the first month when they're using the images chairside. It's also a great way to be able to let the patients see finally what you are seeing as a clinician, right? It's another set of consistent, unbiased, helpful data for you to make your decision. And thinking about dentistry for a moment, there's not a lot of professions where you're the person that's diagnosing, you're the person that's presenting, you're the person that's doing the dentistry, and you're also the person that's running the business. That's a lot to do in one day. I found this to be a very interesting survey recently released by the ADA this year. It talked about trust as the #1 reason patients stay with their dentist. And although we all know that, we could all look in our practice and see there are still patients that are slipping through the cracks, right? And why is that? So really, when we're talking about increasing case acceptance, increasing trust, and allowing patients to accept the dentistry you recommend more consistently and earlier, that's the win-win, right? So we have this new way of patient education. It's very objective, right? It doesn't have a patient that has to go numb or the phone ringing or, bills to pay. It's very objective. It's extremely educational, right? A lot of times we've all done this, and I'm guilty myself of showing patients, here's your x-ray and here's this gray thing, and do you see this little triangle here? Or even when I was explaining SRPs, right? I would hold a pencil up to my radiograph and say, this is really where the bone level should be, and it's kind of really creeping up. So we need to move into a more aggressive kind of cleaning for you. I wouldn't probably say aggressive, and I think at the time, I was hoping that the more I shared and the more I educated, the more they would accept. But in reality, what we see AI doing for us is actually taking that burden from us. And what I mean by that is when the radiograph is shown to the patient, it now gives the clinician time to be able to sit next to the patient and answer the questions that the patient actually has. So they become a lot more involved, and they see that initial image and they say, what is the red thing? What is the pink thing? Why are there yellow lines on my teeth, right? So now they're more informed to make decisions. So if we take a moment to acknowledge a fear that AI might replace the jobs in dentistry, it's a concern that many share, right? But the reality is that AI is a very valuable tool for clinicians. It's going to review images. It's going to highlight areas of concern. It's going to support patients. We can print these findings out. They can take them home if they need to talk to a loved one to make their decision. And the partnership between the AI and the clinician is a win-win because it's really where technology enhances our ability to provide better care. By allowing us more time back with our patients, we can build better relationships, build better retention, and build better practices. So before we began tonight, we talked about how many patients out of the last 10 patients that you actually were recommending dentistry on with an x-ray fully understood their x-rays. Now, I'd love for everybody to go ahead and put in the chat what they thought, but on average, about 4 out of our 10 patients really understand what we're talking about when we're showing them x-rays. So couple that with 40% of patients distrusting us, right? And we can understand why across the US, the average case acceptance is about 50%. So half our patients per day are not getting the dentistry done that you're recommending. So this is a full team tool, similar to all the other things that you've integrated in your practice to help patients accept more dentistry, except this is live, instant, and ready to go. No uploading needed. The image is there for you before the doctor walks in for the exam. In fact, the AI is analyzing each film one at a time. So by the time you're finished with the 4 bite wings, all the AI has finished analyzing. There's dental assistants there that when the doctor walks out, they ask the dental assistant, do I need to do that tooth, right? We've all had this wonderful case presentation. The patient walks to the front and says, the doctor said I could wait. And we're just walking down the hallways thinking, no, he didn't really say that. So, and it's excellent for the hygienist, right? The hygienists spend a lot of time with their patients, whether they're talking about scaling and root planing or really talking about cavities or unscheduled dentistry. This is a great way to use AI for case presentation and helping out with that handoff. What about incipient lesions, right? Those watch areas. That light pink lesion is really helpful to be able to plant the seed for the future or talk about remineralizing things. When we have this detection capability of looking at shades of gray, we can focus on minimally invasive dentistry. It's also an excellent product for new clinicians, right? And also what I've heard, which is kind of funny, is some of the more seasoned clinicians said, Sheela, you know, I didn't think I really needed AI, but I realized I was watching quite a lot of cavities kind of continuously progress, and they probably could have been filled a lot earlier. So I think the goal here is not to diagnose more dentistry. The goal is to get the patient to accept the dentistry that you're diagnosing more often. So think about it in your daily workflow. How long does it take you to review radiographs, right? Well, we think about it. Let's go back. Are you talking about uninterrupted? I had a great night's sleep. I had lunch. I had a cup of coffee. I'm focusing only on the x-ray. The phone's not ringing and nobody needs an exam. That might be different than the reality that we're facing on a daily basis, right? So having AI help provide that second set of eyes, maybe a patient came in for a toothache or a chipped tooth, and we're pointing out that there's a periapical radiolucency on the other side, or there's a lot of calculus here, right? Now, the real magic comes when you have that time with your patient in that pivotal moment, and they can now see what you're explaining. Why can't I have a new filling? Why do you have to turn that into a crown, right? And I think that's really what we want to start thinking about, is how this tool can help the patients understand what we've been trying to tell them for years. So we're going to play a little game here. So if you'd like to jump in and put in your chat answers, that would be fine. But how many areas of decay do you see on this image? Now, I can't let you zoom in or change your contrast, but really quickly, right? You guys are reviewing images all day, every day. So the question begins, wouldn't it be easier to have it this way? And then you could turn the AI off, decide if you agree or not. Think about when you're presenting this to a patient. They can now understand, wow, we better focus on that lower right tooth. It's getting that pink cavity, it's getting close to that gray nerve. We don't want to do a root canal. We're going to keep an eye on these little light pink ones because they're just barely in the enamel. We really need you to floss those. And I'll take a look at this one next time. They now can start to understand what you're talking about. Hygienists, those of you that are working with explaining asymptomatic, things that patients have never heard about that are costly, expensive, and sometimes not most comfortable cleaning in the world, right? You no longer have to point out those spurs and zoom in. So it's really also nice when it points out maybe the distal of 15 that we didn't get on that last scaling and root planing, but it's always raising that standard of care for all of us. I want to walk you through my very best friend's daughter, Kendall. So she came in after college, and my friend called me in the last practice I worked in, and she said, "What is going on with your doctor? Kendall's never had any cavities, and your office said that she has like 5 cavities, and they're only going to fill a couple, but what is going on?" So, of course, I went into the office with her on a Saturday, and I said, "Yes, this doctor is correct. She has a lot of cavities. I don't know what she's been doing in college, but it's not flossing." So we think about this case though, right? And I feel like I bring this case to you because it's so many times where we really focused on how are we going to explain this to a patient? How are we going to explain this to a new patient? And really, which teeth are we going to fill? This is a very high caries rate. Maybe we do start with the darker one, the one that's darker pink that's crossed into that DEJ. And it's much easier to explain this to a patient when we can look at this in color and they understand that, oh, I have white teeth too, right? So are we trying to diagnose more? No, we're trying to get them to accept the dentistry that you're recommending. So we look at chair time protection, right? When we're viewing radiograph, how long does that take us? And we look at chair time and how much value that is per hour and per day. And we look at, this was a wonderful scenario. A doctor gave me this image to share. She said, "Sheila, I was going in to prep 8 and 9. His patient wanted veneers. They had a big wedding to go to. I sat down and I saw the periapical radiolucency." So forget the chair time, right? That's the least important thing here. This was a very interesting scenario that we had to go backwards and explain. We now need to do root canal. We now need to do this. You guys know the whole case presentation here. So I think it's really nice to know that it's a second set of eyes, right? Like when we go drive somewhere and I still put directions in, it's that second set of eyes, making sure I'm going the right way. And the comparison tool is great, right? We can look at the image in the past and we can see there's not a cavity here or a little one starting, or even an issue with the root canal, possibly back then, maybe. But then recently, look what's happened. Unfortunately, guys, this is my tooth. So I have lots of things I have to worry about on number 3. And a quick case study, right? Basic, this is happening all day, every day, where we have patients coming in for hygiene. And we pick a lot about interproximal caries because these seem to be the stumpers, right? Those amalgams, those old amalgams, when do we replace them? And when do we actually move into filling these with class 2s? Is that an E1 lesion, an E2 lesion? Where are we at? And how do we explain this to the patient? They don't have symptoms. It doesn't hurt when they floss or brush. So this patient came in June of 2022, didn't have a problem. Keep an eye on it. Doctor did recommend a distal on that tooth, a DO, and mainly because the other side of the mouth had a lot of area of decay and felt that they wanted to get that lesion taken care of while it was very small. So we looked, patient came back a year later, same x-ray, a little overlap. I love this x-ray because it does point these areas out even during an overlap. Of course, the better the image quality, the better the AI. But look, here we are a year later, and guess what we have to do? A larger filling, more expensive, more invasive. We can see that the image has turned into a darker color, which means it's past that DEJ. Now, your patients don't know what the DEJ is, but you immediately know on an image right away, like I showed you with Kindle, which teeth you're going to have to really focus on. And we can see the disease progression here. Now, I'm really excited to walk you through this wonderful feature. All of those incredible capabilities inside of Pearl live inside of one click, right? So any imaging you're working with, we're compatible with most. However, we do have a little button you click and Pearl opens up. I'm sure those of you that are here from SOTA recognize this interface, and you will see that Pearl is now natively embedded inside SOTA Cloud Imaging. So this is exciting news because there's essentially zero change management, right? Everybody knows on the right-hand side, very simply, a cavity, a periapical radiolucency, all of the landmarks are there on the right to remind you what it is, and really plug and play one day. Your whole team could be using AI. So a prime example on that molar, this is a great image to be able to share why we're not going to be able to just put another filling in possibly, or why do we put another filling in, or what our worries are. So when we're taking case presentation and we're putting it in color, that's really building a lot of trust. And again, allowing the patients to accept that dentistry earlier and more often. So what's happening with teams that are actually using Pearl and SOTA Cloud and this live, quick patient-facing native integration? We're seeing the acceptance increase. This is a basic case study, very simple to see. Within the first 30 days, this was over a couple practices. But the patients are winning, right? The patients are winning. And we're also talking about not just new patients, not just new treatment, but unscheduled dentistry that pops into our chair every time. With a generalized 50% case acceptance in the US, we are discussing these areas of concern over and over. And currently, most of us are doing that in black and white. So again, obviously, the production increases. Ultimately, guys, when we're taking the very best care of our patients, the production's always going to follow. And in some practice that I consult with, the inverse is also true. What happens when we take all of those imaging qualities and we actually marry them with your practice management system? We've created a tool called Practice Intelligence. Now, what I want you to get out of this isn't all of these incredible features in Pearl, but with the lack of staff we have, this product really becomes your virtual assistant, right? Everybody has cancellations. Everybody has to audit charts. Everybody needs to figure out which patients need x-rays. They need to bill insurance. Why not have AI doing those mundane tasks for you so that you can focus on being with your patients? So when we look at taking all of those patients' images over the last 18 months, we look through your charts, we cross-reference your practice management system, we color code a schedule for you to be able to look at areas that may have gone undiagnosed, and also areas that maybe you have unscheduled dentistry. First place to go when you get an immediate cancellation, right? Pearl's going to let you know, hey, this patient in hygiene has some unscheduled dentistry, or this patient on the doctor's side has an unscheduled overdue hygiene. Not to mention provider-specific roadmaps for your day. We're going to audit the entire chart, let you know all the treatments you put in, all of the unscheduled dentistry, but like no one else on the market, we're also going to highlight areas of pathology that we don't see a treatment plan for. This is where the doctor can really elevate that standard of care. We put those into simple funnels for you to move through them. Again, we're looking at basic things in practice management systems with lots of software out there telling us things we already know, planned restorations and unscheduled. But do we actually know undiagnosed? And I think that's a huge value add, especially with the front office teams trying to do probably twice as much with half the staff these days, right? And the doctors, if you can look at an x-ray and you can go through and you can chart and you know in one screen which patient has unscheduled dentistry, which patient has unscheduled dentistry. When you open it up, you know which patient's scheduled. How much longer are we going to watch this tooth, right? You don't have to go to 10 different charts. You can say, great, they have these scheduled, these outstanding, and Pearl wants me to look at these. It's a great way to expedite your entire day. Recall, I love recall. I used to do that for fun. My last practice, we grew our recall department to 2,000 hygiene patients per month. So that was really fun. But now Pearl allows you to also call the patients back in that have the highest clinical needs first. Great way to focus on end of the year, right? Those patients that are having their insurance renew. And for the first time ever, we can look at how and when to add an associate from a radiographic perspective, right? The last thing I'll lead you with before Scott jumps in here is really kind of taking that full circle, using AI to be able to really eliminate that last step in that case presentation. Does my insurance cover this, right? It's an incredible gift to let the front office know that before they come to work, the insurance has already been verified over the next 5 days of patients. So I think as we look through AI, we're really focusing on all of the things that AI is doing for us to give us back time to build those relationships and remember why we went into dentistry. Again, looking to the future, disease progression modeling, right? Treatment planning, case evaluation. It'd be amazing if it just popped up and it said, hey, Sheela, do you want the doctor to recommend a filling on tooth number 3, right? It'd be great if it talked to me. We see new diagnostic imaging modalities, all kinds of things coming, CBCTs. Imagine finding like MB2 for you, wouldn't that be a joy? And looking into large language models, again, to take care of those silly mundane tasks so we don't have to worry about doing those. And again, taking our team that's looking through charts every day and putting them back patient facing to help patients understand more dentistry. We're going to see that gap between the oral systemic link start to shrink. And also my ultimate dream someday is to see real-time claim adjudication. So a patient would know what the insurance is actually going to cover in the chair, no surprises. Talk about a trust increase, right? And lastly, pro-calibrate, allowing your clinicians and multi-doctor offices be able to all train and evaluate and get on the same page to protect that patient retention. I'm going to stop sharing and turn that back over to Scott so he can share a little bit more about our SOTA Cloud partnership.
All right. Well, thank you, Sheela. Really appreciate the opportunity to be here this evening. Again, my name is Scott Cote. I'm Director of Sales here at SOTA Cloud. So wanted to talk to you a little bit. Let's start off talking about who SOTA is. So our sister company, SOTA Imaging, has been in the dental arena for over 30 years. Started off on the hardware side of things in development of intraoral cameras and sensors and so forth. And so we started off as an OEM manufacturer, which led to us developing our own intraoral camera called the Claris. We're on our 3rd version of that called the i5 HD. That led to a line of intraoral sensors, which we call Clio. We're now offering our Clio Prime and Pitot sensors that are made in Northern California in the original Dexus factory. We quickly realized we needed some software, and so about 13, 14 years ago, introduced SOTA Image, which is our server-based imaging software. That's kind of the history there. SOTA Cloud, we started development on about 5 years ago and launched it to market 3 years ago. It's the fastest growing imaging product on the market, and there's a number of reasons for that. Number one, we're completely browser-based or cloud-based. So we don't have a hardware component. That means that file servers go away. So we're not storing anything or launching anything from a server. Backups go away. So it's a lot more streamlined. Everything's captured into the Microsoft Azure cloud. It's instantly redundant, which means that it's saved not only to the East Coast server farm within the Azure structure, but East Coast, Midwest, West Coast, instantly backed up and instantly available from anywhere, any type of device. So accessibility is greatly increased. So as you're capturing your images, you can pull those up from the next room, from doctor's office, from home because you're out sick that day. Maybe you have a specialist in another office location. So there's quite a bit of capability there. We integrate with just about every practice management software, whether that's server-based or cloud-based. So we're automatically tied in with the PMS softwares, pull over the necessary patient information as far as name and patient ID from the practice management software, as well as date of birth. It's scalable. It's fast. You'll see that. So we've got practices that, lots of solo practices. We have lots of groups, that have 20, 50, 75 locations and more that are utilizing SOTA Cloud as well. So let me go ahead and switch over, and we're going to kind of do a live demo here of SOTA Cloud and go through that. This is the home screen for our product. So we would start with typically within the practice management software and launch here. We have to have a patient, obviously, to be able to view exams or capture images and so forth. So we're going to go ahead and capture a series. What I want to show is how quick the product is, but also how it relates with Pearl, because that's the focus topic this evening. So I'm going to go ahead and pick a bite wing series. All of our exams are completely customizable. You can mix and match modalities and workflows. So we're going to start off with a bite wing series. We're going to start with number 1. Typically, that's the way you start a series. It'll default to whatever sensor you have in the practice. In this case, I've got to choose a demo device because I don't have an X-ray generator here, and we're going to go ahead and capture. So I hit the auto button. It's going to automatically run through the series. Now, I don't have an X-ray generator here, so it's going to skip through that one step where the assistant, of course, would place the sensor and bring the X-ray head up. This is a good representation because it's pulling these images from my local desktop to the cloud as we're capturing. And now these images are available from anywhere. The little spinner down here that you see in the bottom corner is Pearl. So it goes to work right away as we're capturing the images. So by the time the doctor walks in the room, Pearl has done its analysis. This is a huge workflow and time saver. So with most every other imaging software, you have to launch out of the imaging software to go to the Pearl website to get those results from Pearl, and you're flipping windows back and forth. This is all within the same product, all this within the same window or browser. We have all of the indications that Pearl has to offer, all of the functionality and so forth. So when I hover here, it's cueing me in and telling me, hey, you've got carious lesions, you've got calculus here. When I double click on the image, we've got all of the indications as Sheela had described earlier, as far as carious lesions, calculus, notable margin, tooth parts, bone lengths. We've got edit mode, so false positive or false negative. So again, everything that Pearl has to offer. So that's number 1 as we integrate with Pearl. Another integration that we have, and there's capabilities that go way beyond in SOTA Cloud, just way beyond just capturing and manipulating and viewing and so forth. We have something called share capabilities. This allows us to share images and information either with patients, that could be for communication, maybe a decision maker that wasn't there at time of appointment. That could be for recall. So getting the patient back into the chair, maybe they didn't accept treatment or set that appointment, that recall appointment at the original time of appointment. So we'll deal with that first, and then we'll jump to practitioner share. So sharing with patients, what we're doing is pulling together the images that we want to share with that patient via email or text. SOTA handles that transmission. We set it up so it looks like it's coming from your phone number, from your email, so they don't think it's spam. So we pick the images that we want to share. Here's the image or the exam we just captured. So let's say we want to share this image, and then we can go back to prior exams and pull up an image from a prior exam. So we've got all of the dates, the types of images here. So let's say I want to pull this pano as well. So these are the images that I want to share with that patient. I hit continue. You will have gone in and created template letters based upon how you use this tool. So you'll have a series of template letters. That means that it streamlines the front desk. So, now you're having to type up emails and so forth. So it gets you 80, 90% of the way there. And if you need to personalize it, you can. Doctor's name, practice name, and date. This is huge. So you'll notice that we've got the AI annotations here. So when you send that share to that patient, they're not just looking at a raw X-ray that they don't really understand how to view. So you can include the AI annotations. You can also include your social links. So some practices are using this as a kind of a before and after marketing tool. So before and after a smile case or implant case or what have you. And then we can hit continue. We can send it right now, but maybe the patient just left the chair and we want to send it a week from now. We can do that at a certain time. Or it's a recall patient. And let's say I want to send it once a month, starting in a week, and send it 3 different times. So you can send a reminder that will reach out to that patient, let them know. And then there's also a make appointment button that they can click on to schedule that. So they would click on that make appointment button, put in that requested date and time as well, and you'd hit send. Likewise, we have something for your referrals or to send images to practitioners as well. So today, SOTA is 2D only, intraoral X-ray, intraoral camera, and pano. So we natively integrate with virtually every intraoral sensor on the market. That's huge. Most imaging companies either only work with the product that they sell, or they have to utilize Twain. Twain is something that was created in the 80s. It's not necessarily your friend. It really it has an effect on workflows with pop-up boxes. It affects image quality and so forth. So we natively integrate with every major brand of sensor and most of the sensors on the market and work with those. We're less than 2 months away from offering 3D capabilities, so we'll also have those 3D capabilities coming. So let's share with a practitioner or a referral. This is our advanced or our premium referral share. It also allows you to share 3D images. If if we're a group and we have multi-specialty, we can pick the practice, we can pick the practitioner within that practice. If we are a general dentist or a specialist and we're referring to another specialist or what have you outside of the practice, we can create an external referral. If it's the first time you've got to enter it, if it's a new practitioner, once you've referred to them, it'll have all that information. So now you're having to export images, you're having to encrypt them, or your front desk is, export them, encrypt them, find the email address, type up the email. You don't always know if the practitioner gets it. This is a much more streamlined process. So we pick the practitioner, we hit continue. We've got all of our referral reasons based upon the referral specialty. So what we're doing is creating that electronic referral slip. So let's say we're referring out to an endodontist. Amy Albright is an endodontist for consultation, root canal, core, and buildup. We hit continue. Let's say it's a difficult case, 31. We don't want to treat that or work on that one, so we're sending it out. We pick the images from today's exam, prior exam again. This is part of that premium offering that I mentioned. We can attach DCM files. Those are DICOM files from your CBCT, STL files from your intraoral scanner. So we have the ability to attach those. Right now, you have no real easy way of doing that. You're burning it onto a thumb drive or a disk. You're putting it onto a Dropbox or what have you. It's not efficient. So we hit continue. It generates an AI generated letter. So here's our referral, pulls in the patient's name for endodontics for tooth number 31, root canal core and buildup. So it generates an AI generated letter. You can add to that or personalize it. If you don't like what the AI comes up with, you can generate your own endo referral and you'd hit send. Again, key here, you have the ability to send it with the AI annotations. You can send it to the patient at the same time,
Wow.
um, which is huge. And then the other aspect is we have tracking of all of this. So let me go ahead and close that and go back to our home screen and pull up analytics. So not only do we have exam analytics that tells you things like how many x-rays did I take per day, or how many camera images, are my staff utilizing the intraoral camera, how many retakes did we have in the practice. I can dive in by staff member. I can find out how many retakes they have. That's a good indication of maybe some additional trainings in order. How long it takes them to take an x-ray or an exam. But
Wow.
then we also have capabilities for these shares that we sent by week or by month or by 6 months. So I can see what patient share I sent it to, the date it was sent, and I can see statuses. Did the patient view it? Did they click on the appointment request button? Likewise, I've got all of the referral tracking. So who the practitioner is that I sent it to for what patient, and the date it was shared. If it's pending, a lot of times you don't know. You're waiting for that restoration to come back to you, maybe. I can see that the case has been accepted, and so forth as well. So there's a lot of functionality. Those are some of the ones that affect Pearl. And like I say, really appreciate the time and the opportunity. If you're interested, you can use the QR code, and or reach out via my email or phone number. We'd love to set up a demo with you. And again, thank you all. I think we're going to do some Q&A now. So let me go ahead and stop sharing my screen. So let me do that and stop sharing.
Excellent. Thank you for that, Scott. So many incredible features, really solving those pain points that we deal with on a daily basis, especially keeping track of those referral patients, right? And being able to have it all inside one area allows us to, again, take the best care of that patient that went out for endo and needs to get that crown back. And ultimately putting more production on your schedule. So very exciting stuff tonight. We do want to open this up for Q&A. I think we have about 7 minutes left. I have a couple questions I've read through. Unfortunately, the chat, which I thought was working, is disabled, but the Q&A is working. And again, I will make sure that I walk through a couple questions here. Scott and I are both here to answer any questions you have, and I will end with that CE QR code in just a moment. So one of the questions was about the last feature I was referencing, which is Pearl's Practice Intelligence feature, where we cross-reference the images with the practice management system. The question was, do you really look back historically at radiographs? And the answer is yes. So the very first day, we will take the last 18 months, and we will go through and we will make sure that we run those through all of the AI analytics models. And that way, when you look at previous images, you can compare the last ones to this one. And it'll also look and see, maybe there was an incipient lesion that didn't get treatment plan last time. We will make sure we color code your schedule and alert you on those download schedule sheets per provider. So that is one question I wanted to answer. The other question was, on average, how much of an increase do clinicians see from a diagnostic percentage and a case acceptance percentage within the first 90 days of utilization? So to answer that question, on average, and there are teams I've worked with that are soaring beyond 30% case acceptance, Typically, we like to set those expectations at about a 30% increase in case acceptance when you are sharing the images chairside with your patients. As far as increasing in the diagnostic percentages, really we see, depending on the doctor, right around that 37% like the FDA trials were showing. So those are comfortable expectations you can focus on when your team starts using Pearl. Another question was, is SOTA a part of Pearl? We are one big happy family here, but we are two different companies. And the wonderful thing here is that SOTA has taken all of Pearl's capabilities and embedded them into their imaging system. So like Scott was saying earlier, you don't have to worry about going to an extra screen. You just click that button inside of SOTA imaging and your Pearl images will show up. So that's a huge, incredible, seamless workflow that your team can start using, tomorrow. But hopefully you guys all have enjoyed this wonderful webinar about patients, really, right? We all went into dentistry to help our patients, and being able to have AI here is such an incredible gift to all of us, giving us back time, allowing patients to see what you're recommending, and also having SOTA really kind of eliminate that extra step. So we are always happy to walk you through customized demos for your team, bring your full team on, and anything we can do to help you out, please feel free to reach out. This is your QR code. It does ask for a password, and you will have to go in and answer a couple little questions, but that CE certification will come directly to your email. Kimberly, did we have any other questions?
Yeah, I was going to say, Sheila, 2 extra questions came in. So if you can see them, if you scroll down, Canada, a question about Canada as a Canadian. I love that question. And then another one about features.
Okay. Yes, we support Canada. So I was in Canada about a month ago, had the best time ever, and people gave me Suni Uni Coonies. I'm not sure what they're called, but they were laughing at me because I thought they were so incredible. They made sure I left on the airplane with the money. So yes, we are ready to go in Canada, mainly right now, second opinion. So we can work with you on that. Feel free to click on this little code over here and talk to somebody in the sales department. Happy to get you started. Are there different levels of features depending on what you pay for? Of course, but really, and I don't do sales, typically with Pearl and SOTA Cloud. Honestly, I would say one extra crown that's accepted in that first month would pay for either or. So I think that's a kind of a quick way to look at it. And again, I just want to kind of share with you that some teams in the beginning adopted this and thought, wow, I'm just going to use this on my new patients. But in reality, guys, your patients that are coming to your practice are the ones that trust you the most, right? They are going to accept that dentistry. So if we can turn their cavities to color or those periapical radiolucencies where they can start to understand those concerns and accept that dentistry, that is the ultimate win-win for your practice, your patients, and the gift of AI. So any other questions? Happy to stay for another minute or two. A lot of the questions we currently get really surface around how long does it take, right, to load up? And I think Scott and I both reviewed with you, and Scott did a great job walking through that demo. It's instant, right? Practices that I used to visit, I'd have my laptop right behind the operatory. They would take the x-ray, it would show up, I would see it. So it's instant because we know you have to have that ready for those exams. And everybody in the practice uses the tool. Very simple. First day, everybody turns it on and they're ready to go.
Question about Dentrix, Sheila.
Okay. Does Pearl integrate with Dentrix? Yes, absolutely. Super easy. Very easy. Excellent for, in my old practice, we used to have somebody look through all of the charts to figure out who needed x-rays, right? I was managing 22 hygienists when I left, and looking through just that many patients' charts on a daily basis was a full-time job. Did we get the right x-rays on the schedule for the hygienist, right? Those kinds of things. Who actually is here today that has overdue hygiene? And we literally eliminated all of those tasks for her. by being able to have that integration with the practice intelligence feature. And now she focuses on, she's our patient concierge person. So she actually like walks around like in a nice restaurant, make sure everybody's having that best experience that they can. So we definitely integrate with Dentrix, Open Dental, EagleSoft, a lot of practice management systems, as well as a lot of imaging systems. Can this be used in where? Hold on, I'm blind.
Sorry, I answered it. Saudi Arabia.
Oh, wow. Okay, thank you.
And the answer is yes.
Yes.
We're global.
We are
over 120 countries.
Thank you. You just took the word out of my mouth. Yep, 120. It's really impressive. When I came here 3 years ago, we were just hanging out in the US. So for those of you that did stay late for us, we appreciate you being here and spending time with us tonight. I really want to thank the SOTA Cloud. From the minute I started working with them a couple years ago through this native integration, they have been such a joy working with Trenice and training. We are just so delighted to have this partnership. So feel free to reach out to them. And thank you, Kimberly, Trenice, and Frank, and Scott for being here tonight. We look forward to seeing you guys on a demo if that's something you're ready to move into. And hopefully we see you on some future webinars. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks, everybody.